Hey everyone, APA Coach Daz here and welcome to episode 22 of Daz Dee TV. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to you about why I think maximal strength training is important for improving sports performance. So this particular episode was inspired by a Instagram channel post that I saw from PJF Performance. I just want to make sure I get that right. Paul J. Fabritz, who's an NBA performance specialist. Now, clearly a very intelligent guy, clearly an expert in his field in basketball, and I really enjoy everything that he's got to say. One thing that did kind of spike my interest a little bit, and I wanted to just potentially engage with him in a little bit of a discussion on this, was his Instagram post about the importance of heavy, slow strength training. He was asking, do you think it's necessary? He was asking, do you think you need it for improving your vertical jump, maybe sprinting as well? And I'm thinking, yeah, hell yeah, I think you need it, potentially. And obviously in this particular channel, he was saying 5 reasons why he thinks that you might be wrong. So I thought I'd come back and reply there and give 5 reasons why I think you might need maximal strength if you want to improve your vertical jump. So here we go. Before I do so, I just say, this is going to be largely a physiological based argument for why I think maximal strength training is going to improve sports performance. The idea being that one ability might transfer to a seemingly unrelated skill in a sports performance environment. So I'm not necessarily saying that maximal strength is going to improve speed directly. In a lot of cases, particularly with advanced athletes, it won't. What I'm going to say is it's going to put your body in a physiological driving seat, so to speak. So it's going to give you a structural adaptation. It's going to make a physiological structural change to the body that potentially could facilitate further improvement down the track in something that's obviously very explosive. So with that in mind, I just want to say, I get nervous when people are saying yes or no. I don't think you can have these discussions in a binary fashion. It can't be yes or no, black and white. You have to always look at the context. Context is king. Yes, there could be a role for maximal strength, but the only way you're going to know when and how often is going to be to do a needs analysis of your sport and of your athlete. But just before I sign off, let me give you 5 reasons why I think maximal strength could help improve your sports performance. The first one, intramuscular coordination. When you do heavy strength training, and for the purposes of this argument, I'm going to be using the back squat as an example. When you do that, you get an increased motor unit recruitment, increased synchronization, increased rate coding. These are neuromuscular factors. These are physiological adaptations, structural adaptations that occur in the muscle in response to heavy strength training. And obviously, Anderson and Agar 2006 did a fantastic paper highlighting the relative importance of maximal strength in improving rate of force development at different time periods relevant to obviously sport. The second one, really important one, Golgi, tendon organ inhibition. So these are proprioceptive sensory receptors that can sense changes in the muscle tension. So what we're saying is that if there's too much tension, it's going to inhibit the muscle to create force. So what we want to do is progressively expose the body to higher and higher loads in a controlled, slower environment where the body has got more time to respond to those signals from the Golgi tendon organs and go, hey, you know what? It's okay. We're not going to die here. There's no danger. Let's just inhibit those Golgi tendon organs. Let's not listen to that noise. And then that's going to progressively allow us to produce more force production. Number 3, kind of related to the first one, but now we're looking at intermuscular coordination. So think about trunk bracing. Now, if you've ever heard someone like Mike Boyle talk from Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, he will say, hey, guess what? The back squat is actually not a leg exercise, not a whole body exercise. It's a lower back exercise. And I kind of see where he's going with that potentially the torso, the trunk region is going to be a place where the force that gets transferred from the legs is going to have to go through. And if you're weak in the back, then a lot of that potential force is going to be dissipated and you're not going to be able to lift as heavy as you might be. But that's the reason why I like it. I like the fact that this exercise is almost limited by the strength of your trunk. So doing something like a back squat is going to improve massively your intermuscular coordination. And if you do it heavy, you're going to reach that point where you find out at what point you are no longer able to transfer force to your full kinetic chain. So that's a good thing, right? Number 4, muscle cross-sectional area. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to be going, Daz, basketballers don't need to get bigger. Crikey, you know, fat don't fly. We know fat don't fly. We definitely don't want to have more fat. And arguably, for a lot of people in basketball, they don't want to have more muscle density, more muscle mass either. They just want to get relatively more strong and powerful at the body mass that they're already at. I get that, but assess, don't guess. It may be that you decide that someone does need to improve their physiological structural adaptations from a standpoint of muscle cross-sectional area. And in doing so, maximal strength training, so heavy lifting, will be one way that you'll get some hypertrophy gains and also continue to work on those other things that we've talked about so far that will help improve sports performance, either directly or indirectly. And the last one, and this is the big one, for me, I've saved the best till last. Increased neural drive. There's so many different, I'll just say the research here, Seitz et al. 2015, there's so much research that highlights that heavy, slow strength training can potentiate fast, explosive movements. Now, for all of those disbelievers that will say, well, that only happens with, general athletes or recreational athletes or untrained athletes, I get it, okay? It's one of these things that's not necessarily going to work forever, and it's not going to be something that you're going to do forever. But chances are, if you're working with an explosive basketball player, I imagine the thing that they've done a lot of is repetitive jumps, lots and lots of either indirectly trained or directly trained plyometrics, right? Probably where is their window of adaptation? Where could they get a little bit of extra gains? In their ability to produce those high forces at slower speeds. They're already producing very high forces at fast speeds. Why don't we start focusing a little bit more on where their window of adaptation could be? And guess what? I think in most cases, if you've got someone who's quite weak at producing large forces in slow movements, it's going to facilitate their performance because the neural drive from that contractions really does fire up the nervous system, and it sends those messages. It improves the motor unit recruitment, it improves the synchronization, it improves that overall rate coding, which gives you that neural drive. It's a good thing. And keep doing it until it no longer facilitates performance. And at that point, that's when you do have to be more focused and target the things that matter most to your sport. But my guess is a lot of athletes, particularly in basketball, have got a lot of upside from working the full force velocity curve and not just staying at the point where they think it most replicates their sport. So that's my rant. I'd love to hear from PJF Performance. Paul, if you're out there, I'd love to have a chat with you. I think I can learn a lot from you and from the ideas you have in basketball, and I'd love to talk more about it. I hope for you guys that was interesting, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care. Daz Dee.